what happened the other night at the White House birthday party of President Trump's 80th birthday and the UFC fight that was going on, and the discovery of a plot to shoot everybody
to harm America
was foiled by the FBI and the DEA. So we have lots of examples of that, but this one is fresh, and I want to say shocking, Kim, but I'm not shocked.
I was shocked. I was shocked at the level of cooperation. I was shocked by the fact that 23 individuals took part in planning this, what I consider a terror attack against America. It just shows that Americans are attacking Americans, but it turns out that the so-called leader of this group, his name is Abraham Alvarez, and
I'm going to throw up his picture right here so you guys can see his smile on his face when he was being arrested.
When he was booked. So apparently at this White House event on the 14th of June, very recently, just a few days ago, he and 22 other people plotted an attack during this UFC fight event, whereby what they were going to do were use drones, right, over the event. And they were going to in some way entice the people that were observing the event that were there to leave. It was going to make them fearful in some way. I don't know in what way, loud noises or explosions or something by drones. And it would cause them to funnel into the streets surrounding the event, in a mass exodus effort to escape. And these co-conspirators planned on putting people on rooftops, like in sniper positions, to gun them down like sitting ducks as they chose to escape. That was the plan. And thank goodness it was thwarted. And I just can't imagine that from within the United States, people that live here, citizens or not, and ironically turns out this Abraham Alvarez is not a U.S. citizen. He's here under Obama's DACA program, not legally.
Of course he is.
I hope he's from Mexico. I hope that he gets deported, but I don't know about the other co-conspirators, in this plan.
Well, he's certainly not the mastermind, because when you see his picture, he's certainly no Mensa.
And it makes you think about a conspiracy, of other people that are using these idiots, useful idiots, I would call them, to plan these attacks. They're enemies of freedom. That's the whole point. They are enemies of freedom, and they are driving a wedge in this country between the left and the right. And I'm not going to be at all surprised if this particular group of enemies is associated with the left, with the Democrats.
The government must have like a full-time department of people that just scour social media. They must have a custom-made program that just continuously searches through all platforms and all people. And that's how they call it chatter. But
right,
that's how they pick up on this stuff. And thank God.
Well, no kidding. But then, people on the left say, oh, no, they're violating our privacy. And they're not weighing.
If you're not doing anything wrong, then.
Right. They're not weighing safety versus privacy. And that was the same thing that there was such a problem with after 9/11, where they didn't want people to be searched at airports or go through airport security because they said it was a violation of privacy. Once events like this happen or attempts like this happen, your privacy kind of gets diminished, right?
Right.
This would have been, and I have to believe this would have been attempt number 5 on the life of our president. He's already had 4 assassination attempts. And I think, frankly, that this was a thwarting of the 5th.
But they were going to take everybody with him.
Yeah. Shoot them like rubber duckies in a pond.
What's too is it wasn't just conservative event. I mean, there were there were liberals there
Of
that
course
like
there were.
UFC fighting. I mean, it's
And that's why I'm saying it's dividing America. It's a civil war. America
right.
is in a civil war, and it's not necessarily liberals against conservatives. It's a group of individuals that think America should go in this direction versus going in this direction.
Right.
And there are, how many people that fit that category that are enemies of America? How many people are enemies of America? I can, rattle off a bunch of them, but I think that you're going to put them together in, put all those individuals' pictures together in maybe a wanted poster, and add that.
Yeah. Do you know how many people were at the event?
I don't. Off the top of my head, I don't.
Oh, God, I thought they said it this morning. I just know it was a lot. I think I'm obviously oh God, what was that number? I don't remember.
Maybe you can edit it in later.
Okay.
But anyway, and I think you can use the existing ending that we had on the original video and just insert this part that we just did at the tail end, and then use that ending that we had previously recorded.
Right. So but we need to make a clean break here. So
isn't there a clean break at the end of the existing video? Or can you find a way to edit in a clean break? Because this is a last minute edit. This is a last minute addition.
Let me just then filter in. Hold on. How many people are at the event?
Okay. So another interesting bit of news is that the event took place on Sunday, and this Abraham Alvarez guy was arrested on the day of the fight. So they already knew.
Oh.
It wasn't after the fact. They already knew. That's probably why the event went ahead as planned.
Okay, so this is what I'm going to say. So there was about 4,300 to 5,000 people there. It said that some reports estimated around 80,000 fans were gathered on the eclipse, in addition to several thousand on the White House grounds.
On the White House grounds.
What's the eclipse?
I don't know. It's got to be an adjoining property.
Okay. So there were approximately 5,000 people attending the event inside the White House grounds. And it was reported that about 80,000 were in the eclipse area of the White House, which I'm presuming is outside the White House, like the perimeter fence watching. Didn't you just say earlier that they arrested the guy before the event even started?
It says that he was arrested by the FBI on the day of the fight. He was arrested in Omaha, Nebraska. And I just have to guess that that's the reason the event went on as planned, because he was arrested.
5 people are arrested, and they're what, like 18?
With a total of 23. So 18 more.
That number went up. That's equivalent to 9/11.
Yeah.
If this would have been, if they would have pulled this off.
Or it also reminds me of that, and I think this happened in Las Vegas at an outdoor musical event.
Concert.
You remember at the concert where there was a sniper above the concert goers, and he was shooting them, the concert attendees, like fish in a bowl.
Yeah.
And it took a long time for them to find him and put a stop to it. So this could have been the same kind of horrific event. And I can't give our law enforcement, specifically the FBI, enough credit
Right.
for finding this.
I mean, are you people listening? That's over the number of people that were killed on 9/11, a terrorist attack, except this is a United States war on America from Americans.
Right. Taking place at the White House, which is the symbol of freedom in the United States.
Right. And there were children there.
Yeah.
I mean,
President Trump's children were there and his grandchildren were there.
Yeah. It could have been devastating. Do you guys understand that? I guess when you compare it to that, do you understand the gravity?
Are we numb to the news?
I think so. What are we going to have, another memorial pool in front of the White House with everybody's name around it?
I don't know.
I mean, think about it.
It's again, kudos to law enforcement that figured this out before it took place. The fear is that there will be more because America's at war, and it's not outside of our borders. It is within our country, and it's not going to go away.
It needs to stop.
And so many of us are totally unaware and oblivious to the fact that it's happening in front of our noses all day, every day.
Is America at war? Are we in another civil war? One that's not well defined, one that doesn't have a specific beginning, although I believe it began, probably 20 plus years ago. And it began with the race baiting, frankly, that Barack Obama started during his 2 terms.
Right.
So what are your thoughts? Is America at war? And at first, I'm one of those people that went, no, I don't even believe we're at war in Iran. I think that war has to be declared, and there's not been a declaration of war either in Iran or elsewhere. So, we had an episode that we aired previously about Hakeem Jeffries, and he said that, we're at war in the United States. And I thought, no, we're not. He's just provoking, right? I don't think he was provoking. I think he was stating the truth. Democrats have declared war on the United States, and we're too fucking stupid to know it. Because we're all wrapped up in our own little worlds. We're wrapped up in YouTube. We're wrapped up in our phones. We're wrapped up in our social lives. We're wrapped up in social media. We're wrapped up in the economy and that things cost too much. Are our heads in the sand? And I think they are. And I have a lot of specific points, maybe to get you to think about, is this really a civil war that we're in this country? And it's so subtle. It's the differences between the left and the right. The country's become so divided that being in a civil war is a subtlety. But virtually every problem in America today has been manufactured by a progressive group. And it's in an effort to overwhelm the government and societal systems and achieve a fundamental transformation. That's what you hear over and over and over and over again. I want to fundamentally transform America. I want to fundamentally transform, voting rights, where you don't have to show identification to vote, which by allowing loads of illegal aliens to cross the border over the 4 years of the Biden administration.
The fact that they don't agree or with a law on showing your ID is suspect.
Of course it is.
It screams, I want immigrants to vote.
They have no reason to say why you shouldn't need identification to vote. You need identification to buy a ticket to an R-rated movie at the theater.
I know.
Okay. You need identification in order to pick up your drugs at Walgreens.
Yep.
You need identification when you go to the doctor's office. You need identification to get a driver's license. And a driver's license, by the way, does not indicate that you're a citizen of the United States and that you have
No.
voting rights.
And that
So
blows my mind in and of
don't you
itself.
think the denigration of our elections is a huge indicator of an effort to split the unity of the country?
Yes. Well,
You
I
know-
think it's, yes, I really am starting to believe what you're saying is that the Democrats want to be its own country, its own
And there
island.
are, when you start looking at the evidence and you start putting it together and adding it up, you go, why am I missing this? Why aren't I putting all these puzzle pieces together? An example, Mark Kelly encourages military personnel to question legitimate orders. What is that? That's divisiveness. They know what their job is. Our armed services personnel know what they're supposed to do. He doesn't need to remind them to question illegitimate orders. What he's doing is he's saying, are the orders you're receiving illegitimate? That's what he's doing.
Well,
Instilling
it's
questions.
right. It just goes to their whole defund the police. Any organization that is authority or enforcing laws,
Exactly.
they don't want it. So now they're telling our
Exactly.
military to be that way. And they
Right.
care less about our safety as a country.
A divided country is a country that's easily conquered. And we are absolutely a divided country. I mean, 100% a divided country. Half of the country used to be Democrat and half Republican. Now, I mean, there's independents in there, but not enough to make a difference, to make
Right.
a substantial difference. Now, it's not that half the country is Democrats. It's not the Democrat label. It's the progressive part of the Democrat Party that
Right.
has divided the country.
Those are the
And-
ones rioting. Those are the ones
Yes.
that are promoting
Yes.
violence.
And those are the ones that want the handouts. Those are the ones that want our population to be relying on government for food, for housing, for assistance in buying gas, for assistance in getting your utilities paid for, your medical care performed for free. That makes a needy population. And a needy population is a population that can be controlled.
Right. Gone are the days of the right and the left agreeing on anything. It just becomes a power struggle.
And haven't we seen that in Congress over the last, not just the last Republican or Democrat leadership, but in the last 30 years? Congress can't get together and vote on a simple bill that
But
they
don't
agree
even, what I'm
upon.
saying now is that they don't even try. It's just a no matter what's in it.
Right, because the party that initiated the bill is not the party they're affiliated with. It's not the party that elected them. So they're told by party leadership, hello, Hakeem, to vote no. And they put up these roadblocks. So what's been encouraged is identity politics. Individualism has been denounced. Be an individual.
The only level-headed Democrat there is right now is John Fetterman. And
Agreed.
I feel like that used to kind of be the mainstream Democratic Party.
Agreed.
You know, but now it's like all or nothing, or you're out of our club.
How do you feel, Lisa, about non-US born congressional members?
We shouldn't have any.
The non-US born congressional members in the United States, what party are they affiliated with?
Democratic Party.
That's right. That's right. Conservatives are all representative of the United States and representing the country as a whole. Oh, they're naturalized. They're natural. You have to be a citizen.
Right, but
They are
your comment is-
naturalized citizens. They are not US born
And
citizens.
you said,
Take Ilhan Omar, for
Right.
example. Okay. She is not US born. She is a naturalized citizen. How was she naturalized? Did she say, I pledge allegiance to the country of the United States and I'm going to support it and I'm going to denounce my citizenship of birth and I am going to be for the United States? No,
she married
did
her
not.
brother.
She married someone to become a citizen. That's how she got her citizen, and that's the citizenship, and that's what I'm
So you're
referring
saying
to.
naturally born, should they be hold office
Right.
if they aren't naturally
If you're not
born?
naturally born, and I don't think you should. I don't think you should. Now, you can take individuals like Marco Rubio, for example. He is a naturally born U.S. citizen to immigrant parents.
Right.
And that makes his devotion to the United States deeper, stronger, so much more committed,
Right.
you know? So, yeah,
I guess that sort of gets me thinking because, my mom wasn't, born here. She was born in Italy.
right.
And she came here and did the right thing, waited
Right.
for years. And then she became a citizen like when she was 28.
Right.
I think she came here when she was 11. And when you said that, it's like, do I think my mom should be, stopped from serving office if she was alive? I mean, but I don't know. That's a tricky question, but I don't.
She's a naturalized citizen, right? And I think there's a difference becoming a naturalized citizen when you enter the country and you're 11, then you become a citizen when you're 28, versus entering the country when you're 28 and becoming a citizen because you married someone that's a U.S. citizen. And now at 30, you have automatically become a U.S. citizen because you married someone. And I believe those rules may have been changed.
I don't think you can do that anymore.
I don't think you can either. I don't think you can either. But she did. She did. So, and it's one more little chink. It's one more Lego in the building block of this argument. I think that when Biden opened the borders to the rest of the world, he brought in foot soldiers. And those are the people that are on the front lines of waging war against the traditional United States.
Right. Well,
those are the
I
people that they consider to be, I hate to say it, expendable.
I guess that kind of for a second makes me feel like a hypocrite because I do want Steve Hilton as governor of California.
And you want Steve Hilton as governor of California because he's the lesser of two evils.
Right.
Because he's not Becerra. Civil war has been bubbling under the surface of the United States. Politicians here, Maxine Waters, for example, encourages riotous crowds to get more confrontational. When something doesn't go her way, when she thinks, and that feeds right into the racism that has been encouraged because of the verdict of Carmelo Anthony in this recent trial. Right. People are encouraging, they're bringing up the racist card again. Let's play the race card. Let's play the race card. Let's erect statues for George Floyd, even though George Floyd was a drug dealer, right? But he was
so we can have a George Floyd monument, whatever the hell it is, but we can't have a license plate with Charlie Kirk's name on it. And Charlie Kirk was an amazing human being,
that did nothing but perpetuate peaceful conversation. He was not a multiple arrestee drug dealer.
Right.
And yet statues have been erected in Minneapolis of George Floyd. And again, it's a way to divide the country.
Right.
The leaders of major U.S. cities trained at the feet of dictators. Karen Bass worshipped Fidel Castro. He's a communist. He's a communist. And how could she be the lead in the Los Angeles mayoral contest? That kind of background. How could this country be so divided that they would rather see a communist person, a person that expresses interest for communism and promotes it in a major U.S. city? How could that not be? How could that divisiveness not put questions in your mind of how we're being manipulated, how the population of the country is being manipulated?
And they're not even making a secret about it. Like, No,
not
so
hiding
like,
it.
yeah, Jimmy Kimmel about just divisiveness. He was supposedly making a joke on Spencer Pratt not making it to the, top 2 for mayor of LA, and actually does a little skit on his show the other night telling him he needs to pack up all of his things and leave LA.
Uh-huh.
And then Spencer Pratt fires back, which I loved, and it had his video camera, and he was on the site of his house that burned down, that looks, burned down.
Right.
He's taking a video.
There's
He goes,
nothing there.
he said, just so you know, I don't have anything to pack because Karen Bass burned my house down.
Yes. Yes.
So,
and what a great response. But you know what? It's a response. So the liberals in this country are relentlessly attacking. Relentlessly. They grant reparations. The left-wing media actively and subliminally promotes violence. Hakeem Jeffries says uses the phrase maximum warfare. They are relentlessly attacking the way of the United States. They're trying to take away Second Amendment rights. And
right.
The conservative population in this country is doing nothing but reacting.
Right.
Every time the conservatives get attacked, they respond. But the conservatives are not taking the upper hand and saying, nope, we're going to put an end to this. And I thought maybe with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the conservative population in the United States would stand up and say, no more, not having this anymore. Our president has been shot at 4 times.
They don't care.
They don't care.
They do not care.
Why don't the conservatives in this country care? Why don't they stand up against these far left-wing political influencers like Hassan Piker, who's encouraging that American Marxist, and he is an American, by the way, the tech tycoon Neville Roy Singham, who lives in Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
He's the financier, and he's financing all these communist U.S. nonprofits, political advocacy for, political movements that are liberal, far left organizations.
Or taking money from
it's the
Russia
left
and
versus the right. And I don't want to say this, but the left is winning because the left, again, is unrelenting. Every time they see a crack in the veneer of the conservative population in America and a conservative value in America, they widen the crack in that veneer and they push their agenda and they push their agenda.
They've done this year already with ICE, with
yeah.
I mean,
these protesters, these liberal protesters, block ICE officers from doing their job. They stand in front of vehicles, and then they have the audacity to scream murder when they get run over or shot. That's what happens when you obstruct law enforcement. And I'll say it right now. I'm not the biggest advocate of law enforcement. Something's going on somewhere, stay the fuck at home.
Right.
No,
now people are
and I'm not
paid to go
suggesting
out.
you shouldn't protest. I mean, we have a Second Amendment. You have a right to protest. You do not have a right to stand in front of police and not expect to be run over.
They take everything to the extreme.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's aggressive. It's very, very aggressive. And the problems that we have in America, and we have a lot of them, but why do we have to address problems that are manufactured? And the liberals in this country do the best they can to manufacture problems. Look over here, look over here, look over here, look over here, while they are creating a void. They're breaking open that crevice, and they're making further and further inroads. While we're too busy, frankly, while the American population's too busy scrolling through Facebook or looking over here.
Right. Well, this is going to be an important 2.5 years that we have going, left to go.
Right.
That we need to cover some real ground and, hopefully.
It's so interesting to me that liberals want to take away, Democrats want to take away your Second Amendment right to bear arms, right? But they're the ones using those arms to kill their political rivals.
Yeah,
Has anyone thought about that?
clearly not.
Civil
I
war.
feel like his assassinations have been past when this has happened to other presidents. It's been historical, and they don't even talk about it. It's like it was no big deal.
It's like it's no big deal because it happens once and it makes the news. It happens again and it becomes lesser and lesser and lesser. Every time it happens, it gets less coverage.
Well, I think that's not just because each time it happens. I think it's because they hate Trump.
Exactly. Exactly. And what they hate, what they hate is an ideology. Okay. They hate a conservative ideology. I get that. You can choose to hate an ideology. You cannot transfer that hatred of an ideology to a hatred and the right to take someone's life.
Right.
You can't do that.
Mm-mm.
And that's what these people are doing. As a close, there were some congressional hearings, and they were closed-door hearings that took place yesterday and the day before. And they really weren't in the news because, this Carmelo Anthony trial was in the news.
Right.
But the CEO, her name is Regina Wallace-Jones, and she's the CEO of Act Blue. And Act Blue is a nonprofit. Of course it is. It's an NGO. It's a nonprofit fundraising platform that was founded in 2004. And it helps Democratic and progressive campaigns and committees and organizations process individual online donations. As of 2025, this group, this nonprofit group, has raised $16 billion with a B dollars for democratic causes since its founding. The reason she's been interviewed in this closed-door investigation is because a large percentage of that $16 billion with a B dollars came from other countries. What's the number one country it came from?
Russia.
Russia.
Yeah.
Is Russia an enemy of the United States? Yes,
Yeah.
it is. But apparently it's not an enemy of the Liberal Democratic Party. So when questions were asked of CEO Regina Wallace-Jones, what did she do? She invoked the Fifth Amendment, not once, not twice, but 22 times. Because she does not want to say, she knows she will incriminate herself by doing something illegal. She does not want to say where the money came from. Okay. So what's happened is liberals are not getting the funds that they require, ample funds to divide this country. What they're doing is they're getting those funds from other countries that are against the US way of life, communist countries, and they are our enemies. And they're sneaking in like snakes through the cracks of the doors. What are Republicans doing? Conservatives doing? What are we doing to stop it? Conducting congressional hearings? Big fucking deal. More.
Those are so useless, in my opinion.
So useless.
All it is a screaming match. And
of course.
That's what Democrats have turned it into, because it didn't used to be that way.
Right. So I think the purpose of why I wanted to discuss this topic today is I want Americans to open your eyes. Don't let your patriotism, the love of your country, be swept under the rug. This is the 250th anniversary of this country. Right. And we should be standing in the streets on the 4th of July, arm in arm, all of us, black, white, Democrats, waving our flags and showing support for a country that we should love. And if you don't love it, I hate to say this, but Delta is ready when you are.
Yeah, get the hell
out. Get out.
Yeah,
get out. We don't want you here.
No.
I never felt this way before.
Don't just talk about getting out. Get out.
Get out. Get out. And don't be like Ellen DeGeneres and get out and then come back because you miss your friends and because you want to be involved again. Doesn't mean you love the country. She shouldn't have been let back in, frankly.
No. Right, I agree. So join the conversation, the solutions. We'll listen to them all. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Okay, bye.